Good morning. What is it? 4:56. Did you see that? It's a little bit of that old man tromboning. So it's swim day today, but in the topic for conversation in our training group, it's about how self-respect erodes. And if you're new here, in our training app, we're always going to give amazing workouts, amazing nutrition advice, but I have always felt that if you're not understanding how you got here, whether it's out of shape, in shape, whatever, really the mindset behind that and how to make it last. Because again, so much of it is how you look at the world, how you perceive interactions, how you react to the world. That's going to dictate if you're successful with your health. It's not just the training plan. I think too many coaches put so much emphasis on, I have the best training plan, I have the best nutrition plan. This is the hack to get you this or that. And in the end, it's how you perceive life, how you react to life. And a really, really good training plan and a really, really good nutrition plan will help you. But the mindset is what's going to make it last and what's going to really propel you to be the man you want to be. And that's kind of why we called it Built for More. That's the Built for More philosophy. And the topic this week, and really the focus that I want to touch on, is how nice guys erode their own self-respect, if they even have any. And I wrote a couple notes based off of some of the discussions in the community, some of the discussions and reflections that have come up already this week. And I feel like this one really hit home because it's, in a way, it's counterintuitive. We have two young boys, and they're 2 and 5, and I would say the most common thing that you hear throughout the week, months, and years is just be nice. Can you just be nice? Like, stop hitting, do this thing. And this is where I feel like that nice guy, that good guy mentality is formed at a very young age. Because if I stop and reflect on what's happening in that moment, what we see is my son, whether it's 2 or 5, they're feeling some intense emotions. And with that intense, their emotions, they're reacting to that. They don't know how to react to that. And I, as the adult and as the person they're taking guidance from, is just telling them to stop, be nice. And I do feel like in some ways the rhetoric that, or the story that we're really being told in that moment, is to override those intense emotions, to just be nice. And I'm highly aware that trying to get them to be in tune with their emotions at 2 and 5 is a lost cause. That's unrealistic. There's people who are 50 years old, 60 years old, who haven't figured out how to do that. So I'm not expecting them to have this awakening of how to be in tune with their emotions and channel it appropriately. But what we do often as a society is be nice, override what you really need to feel like you're seen, to feel like you're respected, in tune with who you want to be and your values. Override a lot of that just to be nice, just to be the good guy. And I think how this is reflected in my own life is throughout my adolescence, even 20s, probably mostly of my 30s too, is looking at life as I want to be perceived as the good guy that will help me get that validation So I take this certain job that makes a good amount of money. That's respectable. I'm a part of certain clubs, or I'm behind certain like ideas that our society pushes because they're the right ideas. I want to be on the right side of history. Look at me. I'm the good guy. Um, Church, I feel like, pushes this more than anything else, is you do these things, you read this way, you believe a certain way, you're the good guy. And the good guys, they get the riches in the end. And as I've experienced life a little bit more, now being 43, about to be 44, there is a little bit of that self-respect which erodes in that journey, because you're doing it's manipulative, because you're doing it just to get something else, just to get that validation, just to get the approval or the riches in the end, as opposed to standing on certain values and having boundaries that you respect. And through those boundaries, through that position of I'm going to be this man because this is who I want to be, you earn that self-respect because I hold true to those boundaries. I hold true to those values. I can write that contract to myself. It's January and we see a lot of people do resolutions, and those resolutions largely fail. I think it's like 90% of them largely fail. And we point to those resolutions as being silly because they often fail. But we make those commitments, those small commitments to ourselves every day, every week, every Monday. And over time, the more we make those small commitments, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to watch this, I'm going to eat that, I'm going to work out in the morning, I'm going to sleep more, not drink more. And each time we backtrack on those commitments, again, a little bit of that self-respect erodes. And I think that does something to us in the end. And I think that's also how you build back the self-respect that you want. Like I said, being a man in my 40s, I talk to a lot of other men in their 30s and 40s who feel like they're just coasting through life. They don't have the purpose, the drive, the relationships, the connections that they hoped they would have at this age. And I think a lot of it comes back to that, is they're so focused on the validation of being the good guy, fighting for the right cause, that they're not stepping back and asking, what do I truly believe based off my own experiences in life and the reflections that I've had within. Like I said, I wrote stuff down because I think it's important to, as I read something, how am I interacting with it? We have so many influences on our life these days with social media, podcasts, books, and I hear so many people like, oh, I listened to this podcast, I've read that book, I've done this, and I do the same thing. And if I actually put in place all the things from all the books that I've ever read, man, I'd be a trillionaire. I would have the best relationships. But so often I'll scroll past social media tip, the hack that's probably very useful. I'll listen to the book or read the book or the podcast, whatever it is. I'm like, that was great advice. Reflect for that split second, but then move on to the next thing, as opposed to slowing down, stopping, committing to something and seeing that through, and holding those boundaries to make sure that I go through that journey that it's actually inviting me on. So much of those journeys in life, we stop right before that transformation occurs. And I think that's definitely what the good guy tends to do, because like I said, what I've seen in my own life, being the good guy, the nice guy for decades, there was a point, or like a fork in the road, where I could continue trying to be the good guy, really fueled by that validation of others, where there's a point where you know it's fake. Like you can feel it. Like, I'm gonna put on a mask for society. We do that a lot with work and social situations. We put on that mask. I always think it's kind of funny when, like, certain sports, because like sports they're fun, but it's just a game too. Watch people transform and put on certain masks, whether it's like church, a social situation, work, whatever. They put on certain masks. There's a point where you feel like it's not me, but there's that fork in the road where if I go in this other direction, I'm all alone. I don't have those connections. I don't have those friends. And it's a risk. And a lot of that is a story you tell yourself. And living from experience of going down that other road, you don't have as many friends. It's just true. It is the way it is. Because there's so many other people who are wearing those masks, and they depend on you to reinforce the mask that they're wearing, saying, can you validate me for my mask, and I will validate you for your mask, as opposed to going down that other road and this is what I stand for. These are the boundaries that I have. Can you appreciate me for me? And I think going down that other road is where you earn that respect. I know the relationship between my wife and I completely transformed when I started going down that other road. All of the friendships became so much richer when I started going down that road, because we were able to have real conversations. And going back to my wife, in terms of that masculine, femininity, polarity, like, her mental load, which we hear a lot about, just kind of fell away the more I started leading from that really desire to respect me for me. I'm going to stand by my word. I'm going to have boundaries. I'm going to lead in a way that I know is the correct way. And I think that's what it takes. It is those small commitments. And those small commitments, not keeping those small commitments, is how that self-respect erodes. And one of the ways we try to help in that journey is we have 10 healthy habits that are very simple commitments that we can all make for ourselves, that over time, if you keep these small commitments, I do honestly think your health is going to be better in the long run. And of course, we have things like movement. Like, I worked out today, or I didn't work out, because sometimes the recovery is just as important as the workout. I walked 7,000 to 10,000 steps. I think they did a study where it's like 8 to 9 is probably that sweet spot, but some people say 10,000. I ate all my protein that I needed to hit. I ate the fiber that I needed to hit. I largely think if you can hit your protein and your fiber goals, most of the time the calories, the fats, the carbs, they kind of come in line, because your body feels satiated enough to not want more. I'm going to sleep 7 to 9 hours. Before I go to sleep, within that hour before I go to sleep, I'm not going to have a screen in front of me. That'd be, 6 now. Limit your social media. in social media intake to less than 30 to 40 minutes a day. For many weeks, it's on a high stress week, it's 15 to 20 minutes. On a low stress week, maybe it's 40 to 60 minutes. But limiting, having a cap, I have a app that caps that on my phone to make sure I hit that. And the ninth one, have something where you have some reflection or creative time. I think this is extremely important that most adults overlook, is that there's something to being creative. Like, we push our kids all the time. Like, we have the toys. We're trying not to be the screen parents. We want them to be creative, to think outside the box. But that ability to be creative, to see things in a whole different perspective, that doesn't go away. It's a muscle you have to flex and work. So that's why I feel like just writing is so important. And the last one, in those 10 healthy habits that I guarantee will help you be a healthier person, is having 2 to 3 social connections every day where it is fully present in the moment with each other. I think especially as a parent, there are a lot of people who just have these high-level interactions with their spouse. Like, did you pick up the kids? They got this project coming up. Who's going to take them to soccer practice? What's for dinner? This is how my work went. But looking in each other's eyes, holding hands, in an embrace. How you doing today? What went on? Like, slowing down, just focusing solely on each other. I get a real good friend, like, we've been texting back and forth, but at a certain point, I need to pick up the phone. I need to have a real conversation. You can have those real conversations with people at work too, but those real conversations rooted in, these are my values, this is who I am, and they see you as that person. That's the fulfilling thing that you need. We all need it. And when we don't have that, we start searching for that validation. We start searching for that dopamine. That's why we're scrolling too much. That's why we're eating too much. That's why we're missing workouts, because we're searching for that dopamine, that way to feel seen. And it comes back to just not holding those small commitments. And that's why we built these small healthy habits within the app that has the training, has the nutrition, has the community, the messaging with your coaches, because it's the full picture of what people need. And I think the takeaway here is, you can be checking off the nice guy checklist of life, but if you're not making those small commitments to yourself based off your values, and you're doing that checklist for that validation, for that admiration, that approval, that's manipulative. That's not going to lead to the fulfillment that you're looking for. The only way is to be rooted in those core values, knowing what they are, and pursuing those, and being unapologetically you. And that's probably a good way to end it. The gym's open now, so I can go start my swim. And yeah, have a good one.